What's up, everybody? It's Miles Turner, the Indiana Pacers. You're listening to the Paceroos Podcast. Be sure to follow @Paceroos on Twitter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Paceroos Podcast, the only Australian NBA podcast with a bias towards the Indiana Pacers. And it's been a big week of news with something that we talked about last episode coming to fruition, which is Nate McMillan getting a one-year extension on his contract with the Pacers. So will take him through to the end of the 21-22 season. Justin, you're passionate about this extension. You were very passionate on Twitter. You've been challenging some of our contemporaries on Twitter. And in the end, we decided to roll with what we knew.
Yeah, you are right, Adam. I've been overly passionate about it, and that's because I've just never understood the hate he received online from a lot of Pacer Nation. For some reason, it really upset me because it just was unwarranted. I'm not even a big Nate fan, but now it's turned into like I'm his biggest stan because how much I've gone into backing for him. But yeah, like he's any other coach to me. I just didn't think he warranted the hate. The thing that I'll say is, and I think we'll all have our opinion on it and takes, but the same thing I'll always see online. Oh, he can't win in the playoffs. Oh, yeah, he wins in the regular season. That's all he can do. Hold on, let's go back a bit. The Pacers haven't been favoured to win a playoff series since they played Washington in 2013-2014. That was the last time the Pacers were favourite to win a playoff series. I was at that series. It felt like 10 years ago. Since then, we've played the Miami Heat, took them to 7 games. We've played the Toronto Raptors as a 7th seed, took them to 7 games. The next year, we got swept by the Cavaliers as a 7th seed against Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, and Kevin Love. The next year, we took LeBron James to 7 games as a 5th seed, underdog. We pushed Cavaliers to 7 games. The only other team to do that was the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. Last year, we played the Celtics without Oladipo. We get swept. None of those series we've been favourites in. So I think Nate can get a little pass.
You got to have the cattle. I mean, so far this season, there have been so many injuries. There's been so much disruption. And that was a big part of Malcolm Brogdon's tweet today. And I retweeted and commented that, Malcolm Brogdon endorsed this signing. Not many players will come out and show support for the coach getting an extension. And Malcolm chose to do that. And he chose to specifically say that we need a chance to be healthy. We need a chance to be able to show what we can do when we're healthy. Alex, what do you think of the extension? What are your sort of rapid reactions on extending Nate for an extra year?
Well, yeah, firstly, I just want to say I agree with both of you guys. And I think the outrage on Twitter is unwarranted. I think that to say that he deserved to be fired is just absolutely untrue. He's done nothing at all to deserve to be fired. He's gotten the most and more out of this roster, and he has the previous years as well. You got to remember, go back to 2018 when we made that deal for Oladipo and Sabonis. There were people predicting that we would struggle to win 25, 30 games. So, look, I mean, we haven't been the best in the playoffs. I think you can say that, but what he's done with this roster has been nothing short of incredible. And, we've all said that, but I hope that this is a wake up call, and I hope that he makes the right adjustments, because although I think he's a good NBA coach right now, I don't think he's a great modern day NBA coach. So I think for me, it's important that we see those adjustments being made, especially since this was a weird timing to extend him. He still had a full season left, and I talked about that on the last episode, is that I would have preferred to see what he was able to do with a full roster next season before extending him. So I'm guessing this is just for continuity. I know it's only one season, but that was only my issue with it. It seemed a bit premature to do it right now before the playoffs.
I do feel like there's an element of, as you say, continuity, but it's also narrative around this, because we've seen the Mike D'Antoni drama this year with Houston having an expiring coach. We've seen that creates some unrest in the media and some friction between the coach and the front office. I feel like the Pacers wanted to avoid any of that talk next year, because they're already going to have to deal with it with respect to Victor Oladipo's future. So if you have to deal with it on 2 fronts, your star player and your coach, then that can cause quite a bit of disruption. So I feel like this is obviously a vote of confidence in Nate McMillan, which is completely understandable given what he's been able to achieve as coach of Indiana. But at the same time, it's avoiding, I guess, the drama associated with an out of contract coach. At the same time, I mean, we all know that coaches' contracts aren't necessarily worth the paper they're printed on. They can be relieved of their duties at any point in time. So just the fact that, we've been able to give Nate McMillan an extra year gives him security, which I'm happy with, which he deserves due to his tenure and his achievements as a coach. He is a good NBA coach. He deserves to be an NBA coach. But at the same time, I think I'm not as concerned with, having to pay out the extra year if it doesn't work out. If we choose to go another way, if he chooses to go another way, I don't think either party would be sad to pay out an extra year of the contract. So it's just more security for Nate. I don't think it necessarily changes when and if we would make a change at that position in the future, because teams kind of make that change all the time and don't really worry about the cash, do they?
Yeah, you're 100% right. Like once a coach is in their final year of the contract, if he's not being extended, it essentially means he's gone. So him being extended a year, it's not major news in a sense. It's kind of just saying, all right, we want to be healthy next year. We want to give next year a red hot crack with the least unpredictability that can happen. I want to read out 3 tweets that I saw after Woj broke the news, right? And they're not from Pacer fans. So these are people that follow the NBA. I screenshot them because obviously 90% of Pacer Nation wasn't happy. And for me, it's always good to get people's opinion who don't follow the Pacers as closely. So these were the 3 top comments. Serious question. Why aren't you happy with the McMillan signing? I don't follow the Pacers that closely, but I thought they exceeded their season win expectations even without Oladipo for all the year. They have also done a very good job on player development. That's tweet number 1. Tweet number 2 was from Greg Anthony saying he's done a hell of a job. Tweet number 3 was from a Lakers fan. Very well deserved. Nate McMillan, with all the injuries Pacers have faced, has this team still in the top 5 in the Eastern Conference, proves he is a great coach.
You have to, I mean, look, we don't need to convince each other. We've been on record as saying that this guy's done an admirable job and, deserves every chance to coach a healthy roster. That said, you hit the nail on the head there, Justin. You can't hide from the fact that the vast majority of Pacer fans are not happy with this decision. The feedback online, Alex, and you, I think you deleted Twitter for a few hours yesterday, but the feedback online has been, not great. People think that we're middling. People think that we're in store for another first round loss every year, that we could do better with a different coach. Is it that simple? Would a new coach lead us to a championship, Alex?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? A lot of these people, you can sit here and say Nate hasn't done this or he hasn't done that, he hasn't won this or that, but give me an honest answer. Who are you bringing in that's winning more than, we got to remember, we're on track to win 50 games, or we were on track to win 50 games this season. Tell me right now, honestly, who are you bringing in that's winning more than 50 games with Oladipo missing 50, Brogdon missing 20, Sabonis and Miles missing in the teens? Like, who? No one. Like, maybe, outside of the top tier coaches in the league who are already cemented to teams, who that is available is doing better than that?
Nobody.
I can't give you an answer. So I think for me, it's the lack of ability for these, we talk about the vast majority of Pacers fans are upset, and they were, but I think it's the rashness in which they were angry. And I think they're misdirecting a lot of their anger as well, because you know what? We haven't won in 6 years. So they're obviously going to look for someone to take it out on. And we've talked about on the show, the coach is the easiest scapegoat, isn't it? So if people who are listening can give me an honest answer and say, who they think they can bring in right now and who's going to win more than 50 games next year, I'll listen, but I don't know if you can.
Yeah, challenge is out there. I mean, feel free to tweet us. We'll tweet a link to this episode, and if you want to respond with who you think the Pacers coach should be over Nate McMillan, we'd love to hear from you. But at the moment, we're hearing a lot of questions, but we're not hearing a lot of answers at the moment from the fan base. And it's one thing to want us to do better. It's one thing to want us to win more playoff series or win a playoff series, but what's the solution here? And additionally, if Nate hasn't had a full healthy squad at this level, then how can you judge whether he's capable of winning 1, 2, 3 playoff series with that healthy squad until he's had the opportunity to try? Are there problems with this roster? Yeah, we've gone through it all year, but at the end of the day, without a full healthy roster, we can't see, Justin, exactly what this team's ceiling is.
Yeah, we mentioned this early on in the year before there was any rumors about Nate McMillan, and we kind of said, look, this year's kind of a write-off with everything. You can't blame anyone for this season, even if we get swept. It just is what it is, unfortunately. It's been an unfortunate year with injury. Sabonis is the latest one to go out. You can argue he's our best player. So, you hate to make excuses, but they're just valid. I think, like we've all mentioned, like Brogdon's tweet, next year, once we're all healthy, kind of judge us then. Let's say next year, Pacers have a really good season, come third, and lose to the 6th seed in the first round. All right, then questions have to be asked. I just want to bring up something quick, a bit funny. Not too sure if you two realised it, but did you find it funny that the news was broken by Woj? So, like, the Sabonis injury was broken by Woj. The Nate McMillan was broken by Woj, but then Oladipo's Shams. So I like this battle they've got going.
Yeah, it's a really interesting sort of battle, isn't it? And it also doesn't do anything for the narrative of the disconnect between player and franchise. And, we saw 2 major things occur this week that only sort of fuel that narrative. The first being Nate's extension, because it's been a subtext to a lot of journalists and a lot of Pacers beat writers, et cetera, across the year that they being Nate and Vic don't necessarily get along, or there's not a great deal of, no love lost there, or no great friendship there or connection. But the other thing is that there was a Miami game, guys. And there's been a lot of talk about Miami, and Miami fans love 2 things: jumping on the bandwagon when they're good and photoshopping players into Miami jerseys. They're the 2 things that Miami fans enjoy. And they really want Victor Oladipo. There's talk of Victor going to Miami. He spent a very long period of time, I thought, after the game, having a good old chin wag, having a chat to the Miami guys. For me, it's not a good look. Like, for me, you're about to launch into a playoff series against this team. I understand that you have friends on the team. I understand that you respect other players on the team. It's not a battle and a blood feud like Patrick Beverley versus Damian Lillard. But at the same time, the optics are something that, NBA players aren't stupid. They're intelligent beings that are very, very well aware of their brands. Alex, was this a good look for Victor Oladipo's brand?
Oh man, I'm glad you didn't ask me this question 10 minutes after it happened. I'll tell you that much. But it was disappointing to see. And you know what I saw today from Jimmy Butler? I'm far from Jimmy Butler's biggest fan, and you guys know that. But you know what I saw today? He's probably somewhat close with Chris Paul, I would say.
Yeah.
Today he chose his teammate over Chris Paul, and he said, "You know what? I don't care if he's a rookie. You're not going to treat him like that. Yep. You're not going to disrespect my teammate. I'm not going to be buddy with you." Yeah, and you know what? I hate Jimmy Butler, but I respect him as a teammate, because he's always going to pick his guys before his friends outside of that. And you know what? Yeah, I get Vic's friends with him. Dap him up, move on. You lost by 20 points to a team that you're going to be playing in the first round in less than a week's time. There's rumors about you because you've been on Twitter. You've liked tweets about it. So there's those rumors going on. I think it's just a bad look when you're the franchise guy and this guy has been dissing your teammate all season long, and then you come out and joke with him after you just got embarrassed. So I think for me, it's a bad look. Yeah,
it's a really valid point that you bring up about the difference between how Butler and Paul interacted and then how Vic reacted with Jimmy Butler, given his comments about TJ Warren. Now that was 4 months ago, Justin, but at the same time, it's been a build-up. It's been something that's been extensively discussed in the media prior to that game. The game didn't deliver. Indiana didn't play great at all. I hope that it was a case of not showing all our cards before the first round, but who knows? I tweeted afterwards the playoff series is still 0-0, and it'll still be 0-0 after the bench players play tomorrow. But, it just speaks to a difference in approach between Vic, who is a very popular guy, and Jimmy, who is first and foremost a competitor.
Yeah, I completely agree with you both of you. Definitely your sentiments, Alex. And it wasn't a good look for the Pacers. I remember in 2013, I was at Game 2 of the Eastern Conference Finals when Paul George dunked over Birdman, and then LeBron hit the three, and then Paul George gave him a high five just at the three-quarter time buzzer. I was so annoyed. Like, we're in the heat of the battle. Like, LeBron's the enemy. You stand up to LeBron. You don't be his buddy during the game. I was that annoyed. I remember being there with a mate, and he was like, "Calm down, Justin." I was like, "Nah." That frustrated me so much. Like, be like Lance Stevenson. You know, this is Indiana. You come at us. You know, you think you're the king. I hated it. I didn't like Vic doing it. Like you said, Alex, he knows all the rumors. He knows he was going to be on TV. He walks past Jimmy Butler's post-game interview with Bam going towards the bench. And, you know, Jimmy Butler says, "Oh, that's cute. They're walking off together." Like, as a Pacer fan, how do you think that's going to make us feel? Yeah. Also, I don't know if you guys saw, I think the next day I saw a report on Twitter. Not sure who did it, but they said some coaches are telling their players not to fraternize with players after the game. Yeah. I think
interesting.
That was Nate McMillan.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on him if it was. I really hope he had a word to Vic and said, "Mate, we don't need that."
Yeah, look, I mean, you know, it's been well documented, Nate's approach. They call him Sarge. You know, he's not a shrinking violet. He's not backwards in coming forwards, as they say. So I would fully expect that he would tell Vic, you know, that that's not necessarily in line with the team's culture and what the team's trying to do. And I would certainly hope that Nate would have that conversation. Any good leader would. But it just speaks to that, you know, Vic's not necessarily endearing himself to Pacers fans in the approach that he's taken recently. And we've talked extensively about it over the last few months. And, you know, this, you know, could be a very simple case of him having friends in the league. He didn't really think about it too hard, but the evidence is undeniable that he does read what goes down in the media. So if you make the connection of what's going down in the media, if you care about the fans, and if you then choose to do that, then it doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up for me. And to me, I think it may have been, and the way that I read it was Vic was clearly ticked off by the fans not being happy with how he treated, I guess, his return or his potential of playing in Orlando. And I feel like this was a little bit of an FU in terms of, you know, yeah, you didn't like the way I handled it. I do things the way that I want to do them. And this, I'm going to continue to do things the way that I want to do them, which he's fully entitled to do, but he's got to also expect that he's going to cop a bit of heat from the fan base because, you know, Alex, we're already pretty paranoid about this thing. You know, we're concerned that we're going to lose another all-star. This is becoming a trend, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we've been hurt before, haven't we? So, as the Sacramento Kings would say, we're in Spain without the S. I think that's my favorite tweet of all time. But, yeah, look, we can sit here and talk about it for an hour. Obviously, there's going to be people that don't read into it, and I can somewhat agree. I can see both sides at the end of the day. But, look, I mean, it's just annoying, isn't it, as a fan? It frustrates you at the end of the day. So
it's really frustrating. I mean, you know, leading into the series with Miami, it's a massive series. We've talked about how important it is for Miles Turner, how important it is for Victor Oladipo, how important it is for TJ Warren. Malcolm Brogdon, you know, he's been inconsistent since coming back from his injuries earlier in the season. All of our players actually, aside from Domas, whether he comes back or not, Justin, don't all of our starters have a point to prove on some level?
Oh, 100%. Even bench players. You know, nearly every bench player's got something to prove because, you know, even Justin Holiday and Doug McDermott, although they played pretty well today against Houston, they've got a lot to prove. But, yeah, you're right. The ramifications of this playoff series, we've said it the last few weeks, right? Definitely now because we're locked into that Miami battle. We're not saying, you know, possibly it's, you know, if the Pacers get swept, you know, do you blame Oladipo for leaving for Miami? Well, Miami are cut above us. But on the flip side, if we beat Miami 4-2, geez, how do you leave the Pacers? We just beat Miami, you know, undermanned, and you're going to leave us for worst teams. So yeah, a lot of storylines will be written from this playoff series. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm a bit nervous, but yeah, very excited.
Alex, what are our chances realistically? What if you were to give a percentage chance that we beat Miami in in the next playoff series that's about to come up? What percentage chance? Is it a 50-50 proposition right now? Is it better than that, or is it worse than that?
Man, if you asked me a week ago, I probably would have said around 50-50, but after what we displayed, I know, I don't want to read too much into the game, but we were outperformed by the bench, and that's my biggest concern going into it is their depth versus ours.
Yeah.
So we're actually ranked last out of the 22 teams in bench points in the bubble. So I think, I'm going to be real with you. It's probably 40-60 right now in my eyes, I think, in favor of the Heat. And fingers crossed we're healthy. And I heard some rumors that Domas was maybe coming back to the bubble soon. So if we can get him back...
How long does he have to quarantine for if he comes back?
I actually don't know. I think they did say they would try to rush those guys back because Lou will only quarantine for a few days, and then
3 or 4 days, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I'd say they're trying to do something similar.
Yeah, if we can get him back, even if it's just for game 6 or something, I think we have a great chance. But yeah, right now it's probably 40-60 for me.
Look, I'm actually watching the 8th game in the bubble with a great deal of interest because we saw Justin Holiday and Doug McDermott have good games against Houston. We saw them bounce back and hit a lot of threes. It's fair to say that those guys will probably both get significant minutes against Miami, and we'll probably be seeing the bench units go against each other. And I feel like Nate's going to, really challenge that bench unit to outdo what they did previously and beat the bench unit of Miami. I think it'll be really vital for players that further down the rotation. We saw your man, Edmund Sumner, Justin, have a really good game against Houston as well. So hit a couple of threes. So, I mean, we'll obviously be watching the final Miami game, but do you think it's a low-key sort of important game for bench players to kind of get a few reps and get a bit of scouting in for the Miami bench players?
For sure. If you play basketball and you're a shooter, if you are on a cold streak, you are on a cold streak. There's no getting out of it apart from shooting. So Doug McDermott's in a cold streak, Holiday's in a cold streak. If they come out against Miami in the last game and shoot, 5 of 7 from deep, that might bring them so much confidence going into that first playoff game. And like you mentioned, Alex, the bench is really worrying. I'm really concerned about that bench scoring with, when our lineup of Jakar Sampson, TJ McConnell, Justin Holiday, Doug McDermott come in and they bring in Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson's probably playing some spot minutes there.
Even Derek Jones scored he had double figures against us.
Derek Jones, Kelly Olynyk, it's worrying thinking about that. But then again, Jeremy Lamb's out, Sabonis is out. These are our main guys. It just means guys are going to have to step up. TJ Warren has to be bubble TJ Warren. Oladipo is going to have to take it to another level. I know he shot 7 for 26 today. Brogdon's got to be, pushing near triple doubles each game, honestly, for us to have any chance.
And look, you mentioned his name there. He's probably one of the most hated players in the NBA, but Kelly Olynyk has the ability to score, have a big game. There is every chance that Kelly Olynyk will have a playoff game that he swings on his own. And that's where guys like Jakar Sampson and Goga need to really step up and play well against him off the bench. Because we know that, it'll be Miles versus Bam. Miles didn't look great against Bam the first time. We've spoken at length about how important this is for Miles, this playoff series. I would expect that Miles knows how important this playoff series is. And you just hope that he hits his first shot and he gets an early stop and he plays with confidence and he plays with, the free-flowing defensive ability and shooting ability that he has. Because, Alex, as we know, Miles can sort of drop his head a little bit. And if he starts badly, sometimes there's no salvaging the performance.
Well, I was just going to say, and I think I've talked about this, I think I brought this up long ago, months and months ago. I would like to see them use Miles how the Cavs used Kevin Love in 2016. So what they would do is just force feed him threes or shots at the rim Like, they would literally just give Kevin Love every shot in the first quarter, and he might not touch the ball for the rest of the game, but they would determine that based off his first quarter, right? And I think too many times, you said it there, Miles is a guy that if he's going in the first quarter, he's probably going to have a great night. If he's not, he's probably not going to have a good night. So I think for a guy like that, it's so important to get him good looks early. And Bam Adebayo is probably going to be guarding TJ Warren. So, Miles, I don't know who they're going to put on him, but he's going to get a chance to get some good looks if they're worried about Warren and Oladipo and Brogdon and the rest of the starters. So I want to see them feed him early, get him some good looks from three. And if he knocks them down, good on him. If he doesn't, you can go to other guys.
It's the Larry Brown offense from 2004. They always used to give the ball to Ben Wallace first possession every single game. And the only reason they did that was to get the big fella a touch. Like you need to get you need to feed the bigs, Justin. You talk about anyone who's played basketball knows that if you feed the bigs, they'll run for you. They'll rebound for you. They'll play just that little bit harder. But if you never feed them, then all of a sudden they're like offensive linemen in the NFL. They just get a bit angry.
Well, you're right. And the defense then collapses and then it opens up things for your shooters.
I'm one of those people. I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You're a black hole, are you? You get the ball in the post and it's not coming back out.
Not guarding my fadeaway, mate.
Yeah. But, I mean, I will say, Alex, agree with that Kevin Love statement. It's, I wish we had a LeBron James so that can make the passes he does and draws the attention LeBron does to get Kevin Love the ball. But I'm really interested in your two opinions on who's going to be the leader. Who is going to be the best player of this playoff series? Who are we turning to in the fourth quarter and going, you are our guy, win us this game?
It's Malcolm Brogdon. It's Malcolm Brogdon. For me, I just look at the matchups on the floor. I think Vic hasn't really proven that he can do it. I think Malcolm has this season. He's got some runs on the board. I think Goran Dragic is a guy that can be exploited defensively. And I think Malcolm Brogdon is in a position to where he understands how big this is for the team, for Nate, and for the players around him. And I think leaders lead at the most pivotal times. And if there's one thing we've learned about Malcolm Brogdon since he's become a Pacer is that he is, without a doubt, the most accomplished and natural leader on this roster overall. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, he's been our best clutch player all season long, hasn't he? I think he was one of the league leaders in clutch points. So I agree with that. But at the same time, I think you've got to get the ball to TJ Warren almost every possession, even if it's just for one touch. And I think for this stretch, I was disappointed in a little bit. He would go through 4 or 5 minute stretches where he just didn't touch the ball. Like, even if he's not putting up a shot, just him having it in his hand and creating a double team, or we saw it in the last Heat game. They were bringing double teams. They were blitzing him like the Cavs were against Oladipo in 2018. So, I want to see the ball get into Warren's hands and then see what can go from there. If they bring a double team, you're going to find an open shooter and let them knock it down. So it's a blessing, though, isn't it, to have options. Brogdon's great in the clutch. Oladipo is showing, we know what he can do in the clutch. Warren's been clutch in the bubble. Miles has knocked down clutch threes this year. So they've got plenty of options.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what happens with, obviously, the rotation if Domas comes back as well. I want to ask you guys, with the lack of, I guess, reps that Domas has had over the next 4 or 5 months, is he a starter? Does it make sense to bring him in with the starters when he gets back, or do you ease him into it? Do you put him against Kelly Olynyk in the bench in the hope that he, significantly exploits Miami's bench and also significantly lifts the capability of our bench, Justin?
Yeah, we spoke about this off air, didn't we? And yeah, I think the best thing is to bring him off the bench. And it was a great call by you, Adam, when you brought it to our attention, posing that question. And bring him off the bench, that solves nearly all our current problems. Like, you can bang it down low with the bench players. We struggle to score so much in that bench unit. Imagine bringing, Sabonis on at the 4-minute mark of the first quarter to the 6-minute mark of the second quarter, and he's going against Olynyk, instead of a Sampson. I think it would fix all our problems, and I'm really intrigued by that if he does come back, if it's like, back to the starting lineup, or, hey, let's ease him into it. But maybe there's 5 or 10% of the Pacers that are going, we want him coming off the bench for this series.
You know what the alternative is? Do I dare say it? bring Miles off the bench. So,
I don't think you can. Yeah, I just don't think you can run him
there's-
as the main guy on that second unit, though.
Yeah, and I don't think they'd tinker with the starting lineup that much. Like if Nate did that, I think he would just get criticised so much, although some fans want it. But it's like you're tinkering with the lineup way too much than if Miles is coming off the bench. But it's going to be interesting. I really hope Domas does come back and comes off the bench. But then again, Miles gets in quick foul trouble so easily that Domas could be on at the 10-minute mark.
Well, we've seen that Domas, gets open shots for Doug, for example. We've seen that, he works really well in the pick and roll with Malcolm Brogdon. So I think, whether you bring him off the bench, whether you have him with the starting unit, you need to give him heavy minutes with Malcolm Brogdon. You need to give him heavy minutes with Doug McDermott. And, he might not start, but he might finish.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
That might be the thing. Alex, would you bring Domas off the bench? Is that the answer?
Yeah, I think initially it is, especially if he's not 100%, you have to. But also, like you said, it's almost like that Lou Williams role, isn't it? Because he's a guy that's not going to start the game, but damn well he's going to play the last, 4 or 5 minutes and he's going to finish it out with the starters. So I think especially early on, I wouldn't expect Domas to be at 100%. So even if he's at 90, 95, run him with that second unit. Him and Doug, I've talked about that. They have one of the best two-man games in the league. And you said the Brogdon pick and roll is almost, what second unit is guarding that pick and roll? No one. I know the Heat aren't. So, I think it's going to create so many problems for Miami. And like Justin said, it solves pretty much all of ours. So fingers crossed he's healthy, man. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah, it's there's so many unanswered questions. There's so much to play for in this playoff series, guys. I'll get a prediction from you heading into game one because we may not have another show before game one. It's fair to say Domas won't play. It's fair to say everyone else will. Justin, who's winning game one and why?
So we're just going game one, not series?
Yeah, just game one.
It's kind of like, do I think with my heart or my head?
That's going to be every game, I think.
Yeah, look, I'll say it's hard to go against Miami on what they've shown the Pacers this year. They have killed us, 3 times? I think we haven't even been close. Maybe one game at Miami, we got close and should have won, but they killed us on our home court. Again, a few days ago, they killed us. So, look, I always preach honesty and always give my honest opinion on the Paceroos. So, unfortunately, I got to say Miami wins game one.
I'm the same. I don't know, Alex, whether it's a clean sweep here, but at the moment, I just don't think there's enough to make me think that we're capable of beating Miami at this stage. And that probably goes for the series as well to this point. But for game one, it would pleasantly surprise me if it was anything other than a Miami victory. And I think you have to be realistic. We're used to being realistic as Pacers fans. So, Justin, we might lose to Miami, but at least we still don't have Jim O'Brien as coach. Alex, what about you?
You know what? I'm going to go against the grain here, boys. I'm going to say 95% of NBA Twitter, 99% of NBA Twitter will pick Miami. We're going to pull it out. I'm saying it right here, right now. You heard it first,
Love it.
Boys. Wake up nice and early. We're going to get the game one dub.
That's good. That's a good note to finish on. I like your positivity. Look, there's a lot riding on this playoff series. There's so much for us to discuss. I think we'll be coming to you very, very rapidly after game one finishes. And we hope you stay safe out there. We hope that you get ready for the playoffs. It's playoff basketball time. There's no better time of year. Enjoy it. Beat the Heat. And I want to say something against Jimmy Butler and Goran Dragic, but you can just imagine the words that are going through my head. This has been the Paceroos, guys. Happy playoffs.